easiest way to understand kind of the triggers for some of the social changes that Latinos want in the 50s and 60s is to understand the Bracero program and Mexican immigration in the 1940s and 1950s, as it says right above my head. The trick here is to remember that even as we see a decrease in immigration from Mexico during the Great Depression, when World War II arrives, we're going to see a need for an increase in Mexican immigration. And remember, it's two-step, right? As our economy needs more and more workers in factories, they're going to pull those workers up off factories in the South, and it is going to put them into, or up off farms in the South, and it's going to put them into factories. And so someone needs to harvest those crops. Who's going to do it if we don't have anyone there on the fields to do it? And the answer is, well, let's recruit some Mexican immigrants to do it. So we create something called the Bracero program. And we actually first had this in World War I, and we bring it back again in World War II. And the arrangement's simple, right? You come to the United States from Mexico, and you can see that just over here to my right, it says more than 125,000 Mexicans will be arriving to America to work on our farms for a limited amount of time. And you can see it there. They're called contract labor. I'm running the little highlight over right now, and that means that they're only here for a short period of time. They come in, they do the work, and then they'll return to Mexico, something that most people, of course, find as the preferable alternative or solution. So what we want to look at and remember here is that we're going to bring in large numbers of Mexicans in the Bracero program, and we'll fingerprint them, we'll document them, we'll make sure they're here. You can see them getting their papers or registering on the Bracero program. You can see them going through the sterilization process where they are cleaned and they are deloused and everything else so that they're ready to go into the American fields, and then they work for us for the duration of the war. But what happens when the war ends, right? What happens in 1946, 47, 48? Well, some of them go home and some of them remain, which is a good thing, because in 1950, of course, the Korean War breaks out, and more Americans, especially farmers, are sent overseas to fight in that war, meaning we're going to need even more people to stay on our farms, who are braceros, and work the land, until 1954, when all of these workers are returning from the Korean War, and they need something to do. They need to go someplace. They need a job. And when you're looking around and you go, well, we have a lot of immigrants working on farms. Maybe you'll want those jobs. President Eisenhower has to come up with an idea. And his idea is to launch a program to deport illegal immigrants. They call it Operation Wetback. And it's a slang. Wetback is a slang term for a Mexican immigrant who gets wet swimming across the Rio Grande River from Mexico into America. It's an ethnic slur. It's kind of like the N-word. And so what we'll see here is Eisenhower, using this racially charged terminology, conduct raids across the West and the Southwest. And you can see here, right, here's a 1954 newspaper just after Operation Wetback is announced, right? The roundup of wetbacks in LA is still on. So here we see this kind of racist terminology right out in the open. We're not hiding it at all, right? This is as racist as you can pretty much get, right? I mean, so 500 nabbed in L.A. By the wetback raiders. 5 stray rifle shots imperil women. Of course it's 5 stray rifle shots imperiling women. I wonder who fired them. But what this program does, and where it really has a sketchy issue, is that it fails to determine whether you're a legal or an illegal immigrant. So we send back people who are here legally, and we send back people who are American citizens again, just like we had done after World War I. So we have this real problem deporting American citizens who belong here to a country that is not their own. And we're going to investigate that issue in more depth. So what is Operation Wetback and these problems with migration and immigration and being sent back home and rounded up? How does this kind of see itself reflected in the civil rights movement?